New 72 Radio, the voice, views, and visions of the collective.
Good morning. I am Dr. Lynn Young, and this is Healthy View, Healthy You, and I'm here with my two colleagues, Dr. Stela Susac-Pavic, family doctor, and Rebecca Shaw. And you'll see each of us as we speak today. We're launching for the first time our 9th show, which we used to do just on YouTube, and now we're on Facebook Live today.
Woohoo!
Yes, it's very exciting for us. In this holiday season, we thought we would address the subject of angels and explore angels a little bit from an historic standpoint and then also from a present standpoint. What are angels? Who are they to you? How do they or do they appear in your life? So just to begin a little bit about the history of angels. History actually shows us for millennia that angels have existed, or people have thought that angels existed. The word comes from a Greek word, angelos, meaning messenger, and typically has been thought to be a mystical messenger. It's found in 3 major religions, more strong major religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But in fact, it goes back much earlier than the beginning of Judaism. Stories begin, the ones that we have paid attention to in more recent times, with the Jewish Bible and the story of Isaiah, when God cast out Lucifer from heaven, and about 1/3 of the angels that existed went with Lucifer. And over time, the Christian religion has then changed that story. Lucifer has become Satan, now is thought of as the devil, as in some stories as the devil. And of course, we can go back to the Greeks, where we had the god of the underworld. So there's a real similarity in gods and goddesses and angels. Actually, the name Lucifer comes from a Babylonian king about the same time when the Jewish Bible was written, the Old Testament was written. So the story has changed quite a lot from Lucifer the king to the devil in current Christianity. However, if we look earlier, there is some evidence of mystical beings in the stories of Sumeria and Persia, Assyria, Babylonia, Egypt, and Greece, and there are probably others that I haven't touched on, such as the Mayan and the many cultures from South America. But there is a Persian word, angelos, that is similar to angelos, so there's probably a connection there. They're thought of as ancient mystical messengers, and they can be human or spirit, meaning that anyone who brings you a message might be an angel, or angel-like, I would say. I'm sure you've had some situations in your life where you can think of a time when you think, oh, I wonder if that person was an angel because he or she was so helpful to me, and they just came in and then they left. And of course, we don't know all this for certain, but it certainly brings food for thought. When something occurs you can't really explain. So let me tell you a little bit about Greek mythology. There are 2 goddesses in Greek mythology, Mnemosyne and Limosine, and they are sisters. Limosine is the god of forgetfulness, and Mnemosyne is the goddess, they're both goddesses, of memory. And the river Sith is the river that spirits pass over on their way to earth. They're being born. This was Greek mythology. And Limosine takes somebody to the river Sith and has them forget everything they know about the spirit world as they pass into earth, where Mnemosyne greets them, and Mnemosyne then has them remember, because she's memory, what is necessary for them to live on earth during the lifetime that they're in. So Limosini and Nemosini are goddesses, but they could just as well be angels too. People ferrying one person from one world to the next. You may have heard of Hermes, a Greek god. He's known as a psychopump, and this is stretching the angel aspect a little bit, but a psychopump is a being that helps one person move from one world to the next, meaning particularly if someone is dying, helping them pass. So you could even look at the hospice workers today and think of them as psychopumps, people who are gently with someone, or even a doctor, Stella. We are all called upon times when we're sitting with someone who is grieving or is about to pass, and we could have an angelic mysticism about us as we work with someone. So it gives us a lot of opportunity to call angels into our lives. They're always thought to be a supernatural being and mediators between God and humans in all the stories that are given. And so, I would actually charge you with thinking about your life, your own life. If you haven't thought about this before, do you believe in angels? Do you think there are people who come in and out of your life who've affected things in your path, who've helped you make decisions, who've actually given you guidance in a way that you might not have thought? So I'd like to talk a little bit about who are the angels, if they exist, who might they be, and how would they show up in your life. In Christianity, around the 4th and 5th century, a man, and actually I just discovered this man's name, I didn't know it, Pseudo-Dionysius the Areopagite, wrote a book, and in it, he defined the different levels of angels. So it was a Christian religion process that brought these different types of angels into our thought patterns. But it's a hierarchy that's been adopted by Christians. The seraphim, the cherubim, I think you've probably heard of this, references to thrones, dominions or lordships, virtues or strongholds, powers or authorities, principalities or rulers, and then archangels. And they can come in many different forms, but if you hear some of those words, they may have you believe or remember that they're part of the angelic realm. They're called spheres, and they can be divided into 3 spheres, and they all address different areas of one's life or the way things work on Earth, or even in our solar system or universe. So if you're interested, you can look up online and read about these different areas. It's sort of fun, because then you might think, oh, wow, well, maybe when I was getting the car fixed, there was a principality helping me, or a throne came in when I had to go to the doctor's, and I'm not sure if those are the correct levels. So I'm just throwing it out to give you the idea that there might be angels around you. They're invisible or visible. I mean, maybe the mechanic is an angel. It's important in our lives to just know that we're not alone, that there are a lot of potential mystical beings who might be around us. The angels are known for their music and song, and joy that they can bring, and assistance to humans. Excuse me, and you might be interested to know that in mythology, birds have been often used for gods and goddesses to help them move from heaven to earth, or earth to another sphere. And so it's just a very easy jump to see that angels would have wings, because we think of angels as moving from heaven to earth or from another dimension to where we are. And so sometimes angels have wings, sometimes they have halos. I don't know the source of the halos, except that they are thought of as beings of light. And with being a being of light, you could possibly just have a huge amount of light around you at all times. And that could look like a halo or sort of a circle around your being. You know, you might have the experience where you were driving down the road and you're coming into town or into an area where the sun is coming through the clouds, and there are all these wonderful lines of light that shine on one area of the earth or on someone you know. That could be angelic glow coming. I mean, maybe there's this being of light who's bringing something to light for you, so shining light on it. I mean, it's sort of fun to think about that. And in our culture, particularly in the US culture, we are fascinated by angels to the point that we've had movies written on them. We have had TV shows. And I looked up some of the names again. Do you remember watching the movie Michael? It was wonderful. And it wasn't at all what I thought of as an angel, but he had huge wings and he did have supernatural powers. I mean, it was really fun to see how he interacted with just normal human beings to help them. So if you haven't seen that, rent it this Christmas or this season and watch it again. You know, even the movie Ghost has an angelic feel about it because the person comes back as a ghost, which is angel-like. And sometimes in angelic writings, ghosts are mentioned. So that could be another way we would perceive what an angel might be. But another program you might have watched is Touched by an Angel. She was an Irish angel, walk into somebody's life at a time when they really needed it. And she was always really careful not to fall in love with the men she met. I remember watching that, and they were really simple. It was a half an hour from start to finish, and it was touching to see how an angel might be in one's life. If you haven't seen those, I bet you can find them on the internet or on Netflix or something and watch them. They're really fun to watch, and you can see how an angel might have been in your own life or might come in to help you. So another area I wanted to mention is that we have today people who bring information from other realms. One word we use for that is a channeler. And many of us can bring in information. If we just hear it, listening, all of a sudden we get a new idea. I wish I could get some of the ideas like Einstein got about relativity. And I'm sure that he was touched by something that was divine in finally finding that final formula that he needed to do relativity. Many of our geniuses are touched by maybe an angel or maybe information that's coming in from another realm. So it can be very expansive, this whole idea of angels and how it might touch us. The many books and articles about angels, you can find them in Amazon or on the internet. And Doreen Virtue, I'll mention to you, is someone who's been doing work with angels for the last 25 or 30 years, maybe. She sells angel cards and angel oracle cards, and they're really fun to have. It's a way for you to even come into touch with your own intuition if you're interested. The cards are $16 or $18, and she gives instruction of how you put the cards out, and you just read what one of the angels might say to you. You can look under the following subjects: religion, mythology, archaeology, anthropology, literature. Many subject fields address angels. And one particularly that I meant to mention is archaeology. And there's a wonderful female archaeologist who found so much about the divine feminine. Her name was Maria Gimbutas, and she died, I don't know, in the 70s, the 1970s, I guess, but she went back into an area she called Old Europe, which was actually still, it might be part of Croatia now, and in that whole area, and she went back 5,000 and 7,000 years before Christ and found images of angels and women and lots of creatures. So you can look up her books. She taught at UCLA and was just a wonderful harbinger and I guess messenger. So she could maybe be an angel as well. I think that we have a lot of ways that angels can come into our lives, and if we don't believe in them, we might not be aware of their helping us. I don't think that means they wouldn't be there anyway. But one of the things we're going to do today is just talk a little bit about how angels might be in our lives and how we might interact with them if we want to, or call on them. And actually, so Stella, would you like to start off that part of the conversation?
So you just says if we want them, if we call them. So I never questioned existence of the angel in my life. Since I was a small child, my mother would teach me the prayer to my angel guardian to be, and you will also call him my good one, angel guardian. Please be sure you take good care of me, because this is what you promised God. And I go back to the heaven so that I can be worthy to be in the presence of the God, but your guidance on the earth. So that was the prayer also I teach my children. And I, in a heavy situation, I will ask it to be sure that I've protected my family and everybody else I love, even my enemy, as you mentioned, Len. When we have a difficult situation with the people, to send them in the spirit message that we understand them, that we love them, that we take care of them. So I will also call angels to be sure that that person is also protected, taken care of. Just to overall improvement of the human society. But when we decide to talk about angel, then my rational medical one part of the brain start to ringing with all fields. Hey, angels are as a God, as everything else, is a thing that we believe into or not to. They are as well something that we want to pay attention or not to. The question is this psychological need of the humanity and society that is materialistic to search for some spirituality. And this is one of the way of the spirituality that some people wants to go for the happiness, for the peace, for the justice. Then I start to read, Len, as well as you are, the book that you mentioned about angel hierarchy. Fascinating to learn how the theologian try to explain that celestial hierarchy, in which I may believe or not believe, because then it's touching directly in my personal connection that I have with a God, that I do not perceive as a hierarchy, but I perceive as a one through the Holy Spirit with a human being. And what the function, then I says, why God would actually wouldn't have angels and helpers to help him teach the humans about his will, as well as give, but definitely every human being has its own will, and it's up to the human to accept and perceive what hear or learn or get insight as something that we want to live life with. So in that moment I decide, listen, Stella, with all of that rationality and everything that you put on the two sides, as you're putting everything on two sides, it's much better that you continue to think about your angel guardian that is around, interfere with your affair if you do not ask it, because I do believe they exist, but they are not allowed to interfere with a human, good angels, without explicit communication through the Holy Spirit, whatever, however they communicating with God. I don't even need to know that, you know. So those beautiful angels, I decide, okay, I will believe in them. I'll continue to accept them as somebody that is a spiritual, maybe visible, maybe invisible. But it wouldn't be great if we approach every human relationship and a being as the other person is angel, or if you are angel with the meaning of angel, good angel, that means for somebody else's life. I think our society would improve tremendously in this holy time that is in front of us before the celebration of the God coming on the earth through the Christ and giving us that insight of the knowledge and the power, how we should or we are recommended to live our life. And it's very clearly, it's a calling for the love for the toward not just ourselves and you too that I know, but calling for the love toward the people that we do not understand, or even we may call our enemies or not adversary. It is really finding the using resources that you were given intellectually and material sources that you were given by the birth and by your work, by intellect. Try to help those who are in any kind of the disadvantage. Then I always remember, Rebecca, don't go down, wait up and bring everybody else up, because you want to go into anxiety and sadness and heaviness, feeling the pain and struggle that humanity and people around us going through every moment in the life. Go and open your arm, your heart, but do not go down. Wait that those heaviness doesn't suck you and you do not become sad and in the need for the help. So stay not above, don't take me wrongly, listener, or anybody of you, but stay where you are with open arm and try to help. So indeed, I decided that every human being, if we're looking historically and philosophically, and if we look in the story of the creation or in story in which angels are showing up, then we may maybe decide that we have an angelic capacity, every single one of us. But who are angels? Angels are the description of angels. They need to fulfill God's will toward the human being. So we got a very clear instruction, particularly in the New Testament, about love, mercy, help, and other things that we believe that angels should do. So why we shouldn't be angels to each other, to our friends, to strangers on the street? I think that's the moment in which humanity can perceive angel on individual basis and says, hey, let me be for 5 moments something that somebody will consider as an angel in their life. So this is my message that I would love to send. Let's go and be angels to each other, to strangers, people, without understanding, without thinking, oh, look at those 3 crazy ladies. They think in that materialistic world that we do have angels around us. Yes, I do. Don't ask me why. I am not supposed to know everything. I just feeling like that way. So this is the one more things that so let's go be angels, guys, on our street. Let's pray that we have a strength and blessing, that we can bless somebody else with who we are. And the very important things that I don't understand, it will require some research to me. You have angels coming. Gabriel came to the Holy Mary and proclaimed the birth of the Christ. You have in a 304 or 310 times in all the New Testament, angels are there. You even have in a Matthew, I don't know those numbers, theological people will know. You have even, and then devil left him, an angel comes to serve him. When Christ was 40 days in the desert, you have in the reading, devil left him, an angel comes to serve him to the end of the fulfillment of the 4 days. So what I'm reading from that, there is a good, bad, and ugly angels, apparently. Good are good, bad are bad, and ugly are those who pretending that are good, per scriptures. I don't want to think about those things. I always think angels are good one. But, and what that means for every human being, it's up to every human being to find out how to deal with that possibility and how to find out what are those ugly possible angels that we say they are dressed in the sheep clothes but have wolf nature. Who are they? How to recognize him? How to avoid him? How to point to ourselves, to them, to those spirits. It's a quest of our life, definitely. Are we going to find a way or not regarding that? Any question, ladies?
Well, Rebecca, what do you think about, do you have some that's really wonderful, Stella, to think about that. And Kelly, let me know that all three of us are being seen at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. So you're on, Rebecca.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting for me because I was raised in a very, I'd say, unusual influence or lack of influence when it comes to religion. My parents one was an atheist and one was an agnostic. So there wasn't any talk of angels or much regarding spirituality or religion. And so the only connection I had to angels was at Christmas time when you would hear the Christmas carols talking about angels. And it was just an idea or a concept to me. And then when I got older and I went through, our family went through some difficult times, and I went through depression, I began to seek out broader ideas about how to improve my life and how to improve some of the feelings I was having inside. And along the way, because of that, I started meditating. I started seeking ideas that people would consider a metaphysical path. And there is in the metaphysical community many people who believe that you can connect with angels and guides and communicate with them to gain information, to gain insight, to encourage you to stay on a higher path. So in my journey with that, and I would say born out of maybe desperation or emotional pain, I began to ask to meet my angels and guides. And for me, one of the most profound dreams I've ever had in my life was where I had an experience where I felt that I met angels. And so in the dream, I'm walking down this underground cavern, and the door opens into this beautiful old mansion type of library, 2 stories, like the kind you would see in a manor home in England in the turn of the century, probably 19th century. And it was filled with angels, female and male looking ones. And I'm in their presence, and I'm just feeling this deep, deep sense of peace and acceptance and overwhelming love. And then one of the male angels takes me to his chest, and of course this is a dream, and we're flying through the clouds or something. But the feeling was that this being was holding me to his chest, and it was just this overwhelming feeling of safety, a feeling of safety that I had never felt in my life.
Amazing.
And so I just basked in that for a while, and then I asked one question. I said, "When will you be with me again?" And he said, "When am I not with you?"
Wow.
And I started sobbing and woke myself from this beautiful dream. I was mad at myself for crying and waking myself up. But ever since then, I've believed in angels. And something I don't share too often in the work that I do in hypnotherapy, but I do believe that every person that comes into my office brings what I call their A team, which is their angels and their guides who watch over them and help them in their journeys and in their challenges. And I think you have different guides and angels for different aspects of your life that you're trying to work on. So if you're trying to work on something in your career versus something as a parent versus something you're struggling with within yourself, that you have that angelic team to assist you. And I totally agree with you, Stella. It's very fascinating, but I've found in my work with people that there's this sense that they don't step in and make themselves known until you ask for them. And maybe that's the whole concept of free will, that we have free will, but if we do ask, they will make themselves known. And so if you're at all interested in having a connection with them and just having fun with that, exploring that, you can ask for them to make themselves known. And it may come to you in a dream. I've had a client who asked, and then it came through a song. Some people will have guides and angels that are the archangels, or even Jesus, or Mother Mary. One of my clients was asking for signs of one of their angels and guides, and she had a dream where this woman came to her and just looked benevolent, and then she wasn't sure, so she asked for confirmation, and she turned on the radio the next day, and Paul McCartney was singing Let It Be, Mother Mary comes to you seeking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be. So you can really have so much fun. This angelic connection can not only be deeply spiritual and encouraging and uplifting, but they have a sense of humor too. And it's amazing when you start looking to that, just opening your mind to that idea, that I believe you will have those experiences if you're open to it, and they can really nourish you in staying in a higher mind with what your challenges are. And for me, it doesn't come in as another voice. When I hear them, I ask for my guides and angels to help me when I'm working with a client. I don't hear it in anything other than my voice, but what is interesting is sometimes it will come in a different vernacular, meaning a different speech pattern. And those are just subtle things that you can pay attention to and watch out for. So that's kind of my synopsis experience with angels. But the other thing I'd really love to mention is that I believe, and I think Stella touched on it, is that we have earth angels. And earth angels, I believe, are people in your life, whether it's someone that's steady in your life, whether it's just one moment in time. We're all here to be angels to each other. I call my 17-year-old daughter my pink heart light angel, because when she was little, she was just so loving. And we were at a party one time, and there was a piñata, and one girl had a broken leg, and she couldn't participate. And my daughter took all of her candy from the piñata and gave it to this stranger little girl she'd never met. And I knew then she was just a pink heart light little angel. But strangers will come in and do things for you, and it just seems so benevolent and so loving, and you didn't do anything to earn it. And we can all be that for each other. And I think in this time of year, during the holidays, that if there's any way that you can be an earth angel to someone, it could be just picking up the phone and calling someone and that you haven't heard from in a while, or that you just feel is struggling. It could be someone you see posting something on Facebook and you might not even know them. I mean, how many friends do we have on Facebook these days that we don't know very well? But if you see someone is struggling, you could have that opportunity to be that earth angel and just send them a note, send them a quote, post something to them that they're totally not expecting from you, and not expecting that day. Because I'll tell you, when I get those kinds of things, something that's just out of the blue and unexpected from someone that I don't know very well, it can have a profound impact on how I feel, and how I feel this connection of a sense of tribe from the people around me in my life. So if you have that opportunity to be an earth angel for someone, it'll make you feel probably better than it makes them feel.
I was actually going to speak a little bit to that too, Rebecca. And forgive me, there's some work going on outside the house, and once in a while I'll feel it. If it gets to be too much, you can hear it now. I'm going to go back to one of you, but Well, actually, so
It is
say
too
some
much.
more about it. Yeah, you go ahead, Stella.
No.
Oh, is it all right? You're okay?
I don't have lots of things to add after that beautiful personal things that Rebecca shared with us. Just amazing. But I just love to add again, we're missing in this world, in United States particularly, and everywhere else, due to amount of the responsibility that we have as a providers, as a parents, as a friend. We heard so much about so many things about the people in the need, and we tend to overlook that just because we are in that race of the survivorship for our own needs. No one's asking for us to give more than we can in any way, but we do leak that tribal connection, and it is up to every single one to reach toward each other and make that tribal connection between each other. When we see the vulnerable individual, that we can act together. We cannot do anything on our own, giving our time limitation, monetary limitation, spiritual limitation, intellectually. But that small a drop of every single one of us can really make a river, and we can ask our angels to help us with that, definitely.
Sorry. What I'd love for us to touch on, though, is how much this can affect our health if we have this otherness or this feeling that we're not alone. So, Rebecca, you talked about being in that situation, and that actually was profound, that it came to you that you finally, or that you believed in angels and there was one who'd always be with you. And I think at a time when there's a lot of flu and colds and people can get really down, or Christmas can actually be lonely for a lot of people, it's valuable to have this aspect of being able to reach out. It's a health assistance, I think. So I have a couple of things, and I may be outworked by the sound, but people can embody characteristics of angels: kind, loving, generous, and thoughtful. And so if you see even the cash register person at the grocery store, and they're being really nice to you that day, respond likewise. That's the earth angel idea, Rebecca, that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
There is something called a walk-in, and it's always been sort of put in a metaphysical light, but it could be an angel as well. Someone who is like a be me and Scotty person, who might come from the future or might come from a different dimension, and it stretches us. Does that exist? Is that really something true? But Star Trek had an entire program for many years that is still in existence. There must be some truth to some of it somewhere. And if there is, then maybe someone just walks into your life and helps you at a time and then disappears. So I think our own intuition is also something that's a critical part of this. And if we are just living on the surface and not hearing our own spirits, our own hearts speaking, then we're cutting off a passage of something that could really be a guide to us. And a lot of it's just within ourselves. I find in this really rushed world, when we're taking children hither and yon, and they're in school and they've got classes or activities after school, or you have a latchkey child at home and you're worried about them the whole time, that it's helpful if you just can sit quietly and think, all right, I feel safer. I know there's something around me, and let me just send that feeling of spirit to my child who's home alone for the next 2 hours, and I'll feel okay until I can leave work and get there. So I do think there are aspects of imagining, even if you can't believe in them, that something's there and you find real support from it. And to ask yourself, have you ever had anybody show up in your life and assist you the way Rebecca did in her dream? I certainly have had a lot of them. And I even find when I'm driving a car and there's horrific traffic, all of a sudden there's an opening for me to turn, and there's no reason for the opening to be there. I'm really grateful, and I'm thinking, all right, some angels stop the traffic so I could get across that big street. And I say, thank you very much. I mean, I'm just grateful, and I will say thank you. So pay attention to what happens in your life, because it can make it fun, as Stella said. It can be joyous to think, oh, well, okay, I can play this game too. What can I do for somebody else if they've done it for me? Or it's actually great to feel that out in the world, when I'm walking down the street, I could have 5 angels around me, and so I'm definitely not alone. So Rebecca, do you have any idea about that?
About meeting them in the street?
Yeah, and living your daily life with them.
Well, I agree with what you said again about just being one yourself to strangers, and especially people who are in the industry of serving others, like in the grocery store line or when you're on the phone. But again, I think the main thing is, if it is something that resonates with you, connecting with angels, connecting with that energy of love and light, begin asking, read books. But the main thing is to start your own conversation and invite them into your life. Ask for them to make themselves known to you. Ask for them to give you signs that they're there with you. And then pay attention, because it may come through a song, through a dream, through something someone says that just stands out with you. So begin that conversation. Think about it this way. When you want to become better friends with anyone, you spend time in conversation, you spend time with that person to build that relationship. And it's exactly the same with the celestial friends that are there for you.
Beautiful.
Stella, do you have anything further you'd like to say? Because we're getting near the end of our time.
Maybe 2 things that I get from your conversation. It is about the clerk in the store. It is not important just to be good to the person who is serving you, who is good to you. The people are struggling in their life, so they will come toward you with a bad energy. I will call that bad energy, bad attitude. This is the moment in which you can be angel in another life, to understand their character, their struggle without judging, and actually return to them answering the kindness. It's a miracle how it's working, how suddenly you make the life and everything to that human being better. The second thing is, you ask, did we met angels in our life? And one of the biggest angels in my life are some of my atheistic friends. Their heart is just pure like a heaven. They were hosted. I was invited in the house with the 6 of us, 4 of my children, husband and mother-in-law, by the person who practically communicated with my husband by email. She proclaimed herself as an atheist. All of what we're talking about today would be absolutely terrible for her. But she's angel. I mean, that woman is living the life from the fullness of her heart. My friend George, he's also atheist. You should see that kindness and love and everything that those people are sending to the world. So no judgmental things toward the unbeliever or anybody else. It's written in the heart what we are and who we are. So as Rebecca says, talk with your angels in the name of the gods, so that they can help you, for you to practice God's will, that is actually ultimate, your will that you carry in your heart for the well-being of the humanity. That's how I finish.
Well, thank you both very much. This was our first entry into the live Facebook in 45 minutes instead of a half an hour. And it was a lot of fun to talk about this subject that is timely because of Christmas and Hanukkah and this time of the year all over the world. And so we can all wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, and a lot of good health and goodwill going into 2018. And may it be very healthy. And join us again the second Wednesday of January, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Great. Goodbye, ladies. Have a good day.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Happy holidays.